401k, IRA, Roth, HSA. The United States retirement system is an absolute alphabet soup of confusion. Millions of Americans are completely paralyzed by these complex acronyms, terrified of making a catastrophic tax mistake. But here is the brutal truth. The days of guaranteed corporate pensions are dead. Nobody is coming to save you. Today, I am going to draw out exactly how this entire system works in plain English. Let's decode the matrix. To truly master the American retirement system, you must first understand why it is so incredibly complicated in the first place. 50 years ago, you didn't need to watch videos like this. You didn't need to understand the stock market, tax brackets, or compound interest. In the 1970s, the American workforce operated on a defined benefit system, commonly known as a corporate pension. The social contract was incredibly simple. You gave a massive corporation 30 years of your physical labor, and in return, they legally guaranteed to pay you a comfortable fixed monthly salary until the day you died. The corporation hired professional Wall Street managers to invest the company's money. The corporation took 100% of the financial risk. If the stock market crashed, it was the company's problem, not yours. Today, that system is completely dead. As human life expectancy increased, corporations realized that guaranteeing salaries for decades was bankrupting their businesses. So they lobbied the government to change the rules. We have officially transitioned into the defined contribution era. This means that the massive financial burden of retirement has been entirely transferred from the multi-billion-dollar corporation directly onto your shoulders. The company will no longer manage your investments, and they absolutely will not guarantee your salary when you stop working. They will simply hand you an empty digital account, like a 401k, and say, "Good luck, figure it out yourself." If you do not learn how to navigate these accounts, you will not have a retirement. Social Security was designed as a poverty-level safety net, not a wealth-building program. The government created these new accounts to give you massive tax advantages, but they are entirely self-directed. You are now the chief executive officer and the sole portfolio manager of your own life savings. Before we define the specific acronyms, we must address the single most tragic, devastating mistake that beginners make when interacting with the U.S. retirement system. When you open a standard checking account, you deposit cash, and the bank pays you a tiny bit of interest. People mistakenly believe that retirement accounts work the exact same way. They tell their friends, "I am investing in my 401k." They think a 401k or an IRA is a magical investment that automatically grows your money just because you put cash inside of it. That is completely false. A 401k is not an investment. An IRA is not an investment. I want you to look at the diagram on this slide and memorize the concept of the bucket and the water. A retirement account is simply an empty plastic bucket. That bucket is a legal tax shelter created by the Internal Revenue Service. It acts as an invisible force field that protects whatever is inside it from the government's taxation. But the bucket itself does absolutely nothing. It does not earn money. It does not compound. It is completely hollow. To build wealth, you have to fill the bucket with water. The water represents actual financial assets: broad market index funds, mutual funds, stocks, and bonds. Every single year, thousands of Americans diligently transfer part of their paycheck into their 401k or IRA bucket, but they never actually click the buy button to purchase the index funds. They leave the money sitting inside the bucket as pure, stagnant cash. 20 years later, they log in expecting to be millionaires, only to realize their money never grew a single penny because it was just rotting away as cash inside a tax-free bucket, being silently destroyed by inflation. Step 1 is putting your money into the bucket. Step 2, the absolute most critical step, is actively using that money to buy the water. Never leave your bucket empty. To navigate this alphabet soup, you must understand that the U.S. tax code speaks two distinct languages. Every single retirement bucket you ever open will fall into one of two categories: traditional or Roth. Understanding this fundamental difference is the absolute key to mastering your wealth. These two words simply describe exactly when you are going to pay taxes to the government. Let's start with traditional, which is often called pre-tax. If you use a traditional account, the government gives you a massive tax break today. The money is taken out of your paycheck and put into the bucket before the IRS takes their cut. If you make $80,000 a year and you put $10,000 into a traditional 401k, the IRS pretends you only made $70,000. You save thousands of dollars on taxes this year. The money grows over decades without being taxed. But there is a massive catch. The IRS is not a charity. They are just delaying the tax bill. When you turn 65 and you finally pull that massive pile of millions out of the bucket to live on, the government will tax every single dollar you withdraw as ordinary income. You are taxing the harvest. Now let's look at the second language, Roth, also known as post-tax. With a Roth account, you get absolutely no tax break today. The money goes into the bucket after the IRS has already taxed your paycheck. It hurts your cash flow a little bit more right now, but the reward is absolutely staggering. Because you already paid taxes on the small seed, the IRS legally cannot touch the massive harvest. Your money grows for 40 years, compounding into millions of dollars. And when you withdraw it in retirement, it is 100% completely legally tax-free. If you have $3 million in a Roth account, all $3 million belongs strictly to you. For the vast majority of young and middle-class investors, the Roth option is the most mathematically powerful weapon in existence. Now that we understand the buckets and the taxes, let us define the actual acronyms. We begin in the employer sphere with the most famous account of all, the 401k. The name 401k sounds intimidating, but it is literally just the specific numerical paragraph in the IRS tax code that legally created the account. If you work for a hospital or a nonprofit, your version is called a 403b. If you work for the federal government or military, it is called the TSP or Thrift Savings Plan. Do not let the different numbers confuse you. They all function identically. A 401k is a retirement bucket that is tied directly to your employer. You cannot walk into a bank and open a 401k on your own. Your company has to offer it to you as a workplace benefit. The mechanism is incredibly powerful. You elect a specific percentage of your salary, and the company's payroll department automatically intercepts that money and routes it directly into your 401k bucket before the paycheck ever reaches your checking account. You literally never see the money, which completely eliminates the psychological temptation to spend it. The government heavily encourages this, allowing you to shield massive amounts of money, currently up to $23,000 a year, inside the specific bucket. However, the 401k has one massive limitation. Because your employer legally sponsors the plan, they get to choose the investment menu. Imagine walking into a restaurant and the menu only has 10 items on it. That is a 401k. The HR department hires an administration company, and they give you a very limited list of mutual funds to choose from. If your employer chooses expensive funds with high management fees, you are completely trapped. You cannot buy individual stocks or outside index funds inside a standard 401k. You must order from their specific menu. Despite the limited investment menu, there is one reason you must absolutely utilize your 401k. It is the single greatest financial advantage in the American economy, the employer match. To incentivize you to save for your own future and to keep you loyal to the company, many corporations will offer to match your contributions up to a certain percentage of your salary. Look at the mathematical breakdown on this slide. Let us assume you make $100,000 a year and your company offers a 100%. Match up to 5% of your salary. If you choose to deposit 5%, which is $5,000 into your 401k bucket, the company will legally reach into their own corporate profits, pull out $5,000 of their own money, and drop it into your bucket right next to yours. You just turned $5,000 into $10,000 instantly. Think about the profound reality of this math. You just achieved an immediate, completely guaranteed 100% return on your investment, with absolutely zero stock market risk. There is no hedge fund, no real estate deal, and no cryptocurrency on the planet that can legally guarantee a 100% instant return. If your company offers a match, and you decide not to contribute to your 401k because you want a slightly larger paycheck today to buy consumer goods, you are making a catastrophic mathematical error. You are literally rejecting free money. You are walking into your boss's office, looking them in the eye, and requesting a voluntary pay cut. Capturing the employer match is absolute priority number one in your financial life. However, you must be hyper aware that massive corporations do not hand out free money simply because they are generous. The employer match is a highly calculated corporate retention strategy, and it comes with a massive trap attached. This trap is called the vesting schedule. A vesting schedule is a legal timeline that dictates when the free matching money actually belongs to you. Let me be absolutely clear. Any money that comes out of your own physical paycheck is 100% yours. It vests immediately. If you deposit $5,000 on Monday and you quit your job on Tuesday, you take all $5,000 of your dollars with you, but the corporation's matching dollars are held hostage. Most companies use a graded vesting schedule that lasts anywhere from 3 to 5 years. For example, the fine print might state that you keep 20% of the match after year 1, 40% after year 2, and you are only fully vested after 5 full years of loyal employment. If your company deposits $10,000 of free match money into your 401k, and you get angry and quit your job on year 2, the corporation literally reaches into your retirement bucket and legally rips that unvested cash right back out. They use this massive pile of pending cash as golden handcuffs to keep you from jumping to a competitor. Before you quit a job, you must log into your HR portal and check your specific vesting status. Sometimes staying at a toxic job for just 2 more weeks can mean the difference between losing or keeping $20,000 of corporate cash. Always verify your vesting cliff. Once you have captured your free employer match, we leave the employer sphere and enter the individual sphere. This brings us to the next massive acronym, the IRA. IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. The most important word in that phrase is individual. This bucket has absolutely nothing to do with your boss, your HR department, or your company. If you get fired tomorrow, your IRA does not care. You open this account yourself, directly with a major financial brokerage like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Charles Schwab. You link it to your personal checking account, and you manually transfer cash into the bucket. Why do you need an IRA if you already have a 401k? Absolute freedom and control. Remember how the 401k forces you to order from a restricted 10-item corporate menu? The IRA is a massive, unlimited global supermarket. Because you own the account directly, you have total access to the entire global stock market. You can buy any broad market ETF, any S&P 500 index fund, or any specific stock you want. You completely bypass the expensive management fees charged by corporate 401k administrators. However, because this total freedom and tax protection is so incredibly powerful, the government places a massive restriction on it. The IRS strictly limits how much money you can put into this bucket. While they allow you to put $23,000 into a corporate 401k, they currently only allow you to put around $7,000 a year into an IRA. This account is your personal wealth-building fortress. And just like the 401k, you can choose to make it a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. For the average American, maxing out a Roth IRA every year is the ultimate middle-class wealth hack. If you choose to use the incredibly powerful Roth IRA, I must warn you about a massive legal trap. The United States government realizes that allowing money to grow tax-free for decades is an incredibly overpowered financial tool. Therefore, they actively try to prevent highly successful people from using it. The Roth IRA comes with strict income limits. If you are highly successful, for example, if you are single and make over roughly $160,000 or married making over $240,000, the IRS legally forbids you from directly depositing money into a Roth IRA. If you do it accidentally, they will hit you with massive financial penalties. But do not panic. High net worth individuals bypass this rule every single year using a perfectly legal IRS-approved loophole known as the Backdoor Roth IRA. Here is exactly how the legal loophole works. While there are income limits to put money directly into a Roth IRA, there are absolutely zero income limits to put money into a traditional IRA. So you take your $7,000 and you deposit it into a traditional IRA bucket. You do not invest it yet. You just let it sit as cash. Then you click a button in your brokerage account to trigger a Roth conversion. You legally convert the traditional bucket into the Roth bucket, officially sliding the money through the back door. Because the money didn't grow while it was sitting as cash for 2 days, there are no taxes owed on the conversion. You have successfully bypassed the IRS income limits and secured your tax-free growth. We now arrive at the most misunderstood yet mathematically overpowered account in the entire United States tax code. It is the ultimate secret weapon of the wealthy, the HSA or health savings account. To even open an HSA, you must be enrolled in a high-deductible health plan through your employer or the marketplace. The massive mistake 99% of Americans make is treating the HSA like a short-term checking account. They put $1,000 in, and then they immediately use the HSA debit card to pay for their dental cleanings or pharmacy runs. If you do this, you are throwing away a multi-million-dollar opportunity. The HSA is the only account in America that is triple tax advantaged. It combines the absolute best features of the traditional 401k and the Roth IRA into one unstoppable fortress. First, the money you put in is tax deductible. It lowers your taxes today. Second, you can invest the money inside the HSA into the stock market, and it grows completely tax-free. Third, when you withdraw the money for qualified medical expenses, the withdrawal is 100% tax-free. It completely evades the IRS at every single level. Here is the ultimate stealth wealth hack. You max out your HSA every year, and you invest it aggressively in the S&P 500. When you get a medical bill for $500 today, you do not use the HSA. You pay for it out of your normal, everyday checking account. You save the receipt in a digital folder. You let the HSA money compound for 30 years. When you are 65, you will have a massive, untaxed vault of hundreds of thousands of dollars specifically designed to cover the astronomical healthcare costs of old age. And worst-case scenario? Once you hit age 65, the medical restriction drops. You can withdraw the money for non-medical reasons without penalty, treating it exactly like a traditional IRA. So you have opened your 401k, your Roth IRA, and your HSA. The empty buckets are perfectly aligned. Now you must fill the shopping cart. What exactly do you buy? If you try to buy individual stocks, like trying to guess if an electric car company or a streaming service will go up next week, you are not investing. You are gambling. You are competing against supercomputers on Wall Street, and you will mathematically lose. You do not look for the needle in the haystack. You buy the entire haystack. For beginners, there are 2 primary paths to ultimate success. Path number 1 is the Target Date Index Fund. This is the absolute easiest set it and forget it method in existence. You simply look at the menu inside your bucket and pick the fund with the year closest to when you plan to turn 65. For example, the Target Retirement 2060 Fund. The algorithm does all the heavy lifting. While you are young, it aggressively invests your money in global stocks to maximize growth. As you get older and approach your 60s, the computer automatically sells the risky stocks and buys highly stable bonds to protect your wealth right before you retire. It requires 0 financial knowledge. Path number 2 is the Warren Buffett method, the S&P 500 Index Fund. Instead of an automated glide path, you simply buy a fund, like VOO or FXAIX, that tracks the 500 largest, most profitable monopolies in the United States. You instantly become a fractional owner of the entire American economy. Historically, this broad market approach has averaged an 8 to 10% return over decades. Buy the index, hold it for 30 years, and let compounding do the heavy lifting. While you are filling your buckets with index funds or target date funds, you must be extremely vigilant against the silent wealth killer. It is a hidden fee called the expense ratio. An expense ratio is the administrative fee that the mutual fund or ETF charges you every single year just to hold the investment. It is not billed to you, it is silently skimmed off the top of your balance. Most beginners look at a 1% expense ratio and think, 1%? That's nothing. I'll gladly pay 1%. This is a catastrophic misunderstanding of compound interest. Because that 1% fee compounds year after year over a 30-year timeline, it will literally consume 25 to 30% of your total life savings. If your portfolio was destined to hit $2 million, a 1% fee will steal over $500,000 of your wealth and hand it directly to a Wall Street manager. You must always look at the fine print of the funds you're buying. You want to buy low-cost passive index funds that have an expense ratio of 0.15% or lower. Funds like VOO or VTI literally charge around 0.03%. Keep your fees as close to zero as mathematically possible. Do not pay a financial advisor a massive percentage to do what a simple index fund does automatically. Before you aggressively lock all of your cash into these tax buckets, you must understand the rules of the game. The IRS is giving you massive tax breaks, but in exchange, they demand extreme patience. These accounts are explicitly designed for your old age. The magic number in the American tax code is 59.5. If you put your money into a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA and you decide you want to buy a sports car at age 40, the IRS will punish you severely. If you pull that money out early, you will have to pay standard income taxes on the withdrawal, and the government will hit you with a brutal 10% early withdrawal penalty. It will completely decimate your wealth. You must treat this money as locked behind a vault door until you are 59.5. However, there is one massive, highly flexible exception: the Roth IRA. Because you already paid taxes up front on the money you put into a Roth IRA, the IRS is much more lenient. You can legally withdraw your exact contributions, the raw money you put in, at any age, at any time, completely tax and penalty-free. You cannot touch the compounding growth until you are older, but your principal is accessible. This makes the Roth IRA an incredibly flexible tool for young people who are terrified of locking their money away completely. There is one logistical nightmare you will inevitably face during your career. What happens to your 401k when you quit your job or get fired? There are trillions of dollars sitting in orphaned 401k accounts in the United States. People quit, completely forget they had an account, and leave the money sitting at their old company. When you leave, the company often starts charging your dormant account higher administrative fees, slowly bleeding your wealth dry. When you leave a job, you have 3 options, and 2 of them are terrible. Terrible option 1: you cash it out. You ask them to send you a physical check so you can pay off some credit cards. As we discussed, this triggers ordinary income tax and the brutal 10% early withdrawal penalty. Never cash out a retirement account. Terrible option 2: you do nothing and leave it to rot in the old company's terrible plan. The only correct option is a direct rollover. When you start your new job, you go to your personal brokerage, like Vanguard or Schwab, and you click a button to open a rollover IRA. You then instruct the financial institution that holds your old 401k to electronically wire the funds directly, institution to institution, into your new personal IRA. Because the money never touches your hands and never goes into your personal checking account, this is not considered a withdrawal. It is a seamless transfer. It triggers 0 taxes, 0 penalties, and you completely reclaim absolute control over your investments. You consolidate your wealth into one powerful, unified dashboard. At this point, you understand the buckets, you understand the investments, and you understand the penalties. The final piece of the puzzle is the strategy. If you have a limited amount of money every month, which bucket do you fill first? You must follow a strict, mathematically optimized sequence known as the order of operations. Look at the blueprint on the screen. Follow the arrows exactly. Step 1. Capture the employer match. You go to your company's 401k and you contribute exactly the percentage required to get every single penny of the company match. If they match up to 5%, you contribute exactly 5%. You capture the 100% ROI and then you stop. Step 2. Max out the HSA. If you qualify for a health savings account, you immediately direct your cash flow here. You max it out to the annual limit, invest it in the S&P 500, and secure the greatest tax shield in America. Step 3. Max out the Roth IRA. Now that you have the free money and the health shield, you want sovereign individual control. You fund your personal Roth IRA up to the limit. This guarantees that you are building a massive pool of cash that the government can never, ever tax in your old age. Step 4. Return to the 401k. If you are a high-income earner and you still have money left over after maxing the HSA and the Roth IRA, you circle back to your employer's 401k. You pump all remaining cash into that bucket, attempting to hit the massive $23,000 legal limit. If you execute this exact four-step sequence consistently for 20 years, it is mathematically impossible for you to fail. The American retirement system is intentionally complex. It relies on confusing acronyms, dense tax codes, and endless paperwork. Because of this complexity, millions of hardworking people freeze. They get intimidated, they put their money in a savings account, and they accidentally rob their future selves of millions of dollars in compound growth. But you now possess the translation. You know that a 401k is just an employer bucket with free matching money. You know an IRA is an individual bucket that gives you absolute control. You know the HSA is a triple tax medical war chest, and most importantly, you know that placing cash into these buckets is completely useless unless you actually use that cash to buy assets that compound over time. Do not let the fear of taxes or the confusion of acronyms paralyze you. Time is the single most valuable asset you have in the market. Every year you delay opening these accounts, you are permanently destroying the mathematical magic of compound interest. The pension is dead, which means nobody is coming to save you. You are the sole architect of your future. Log into your HR portal. Open an IRA at a major brokerage. Execute the exact order of operations we just mapped out. Start building your buckets today, fill them with investments, and take total, uncompromising control of your financial destiny.